So, this battle was pretty historical, believe it or not. The first part of the day did not go well for the Prussians historically. And in fact, at about 10:30, 10 o'clock a.m., Frederick left the battlefield. He went home, and his subcommanders had to finish it out for him. He was so disgusted with the opening parts of the battle. We've also had pretty historical amounts of casualties, pretty much proportional on both sides. And right now it looks like a giant pinwheel is occurring. So on the northern flank, on the Austrian right or the Prussian left, there was a lot of progress made by the Austrians. But then on the southern flank, there's a ton of progress made by the Prussians. So it's kind of 50-50. And what we had is a big cavalry charge just come in from the 6th Cavalry Brigade. And that should do pretty good work against the weaker Austrian cavalry, although they've got plenty of stuff that they could plug that hole with. So it shouldn't be completely devastating. And this battle is clearly going to drag on for hours and hours and hours. As much as I would love to play for another 20 hours or whatever it would take to finish this, I think we can say that we would have an equally indecisive result in the first part of the day, causing Frederick to leave the field like he did historically. So with that, I'm going to open it up to Frederick to talk about what he thought about this battle, and then we'll come back around to do everyone else.
Well, no surprises. The defending side decided to attack like always. I only was surprised that they used all the cavalry in the center and cavalry and infantry on the flanks. So it was funny to watch.
Why did you choose to use all your cavalry in the center?
Because it's only an open part of the field.
Okay. So it's just terrain considerations.
Yeah.
Why did you send that cavalry? I mean, I guess this is more a question for the left wing commander, but was there any thought about not sending that cavalry way around to the left like that?
Well, it was supposed to cover his left, but it's attacked without the order. For some reason, it's attacked the enemy while it had order to just pull back. So we just left one cavalry brigade to guard help him secure the hilltop, and all the rest of the cavalry was in the center.
All right. Well, how about Brown? What did you think about your perspective of what forces you wanted to send where? How did you end up also blobbing all your cavalry in the center?
Yes, ours was less a consideration of terrain and long-term tactics and more, I literally could not find a place to put the cavalry. I wanted to clear out the center for my infantry to come through, and I was going to try to move the cavalry north, but then Lacey reported the enemy's on the hill up north, and I'm going to drive him off. So I decided there was only one place to put it, so we charged it right down the center. And yeah, that was my understanding of it. My understanding of the battle was that we were supposed to be defending, so initially my plan had been let the enemy come down the center, and then once they come down the center, we attack from the woods in the south. But they did not send their main body, so eventually I realized between the cavalry being unable to disengage and the fact I had nowhere else to put it, I decided just to commit to that opening engagement, throw my cavalry forward, which we did so to great success. And so, yeah, I think it worked out pretty much despite my planning, not because of it, but nonetheless, I'll take it. A victory is a victory.
All right, so next I'm just going to go down top to bottom. So Birdie, could you talk a little bit about how the battle went for you?
Well, I was the Prussian center commander, and the battle for me was basically observing the cavalry engagement for quite a while, and then just launching the final Prussian attack. The interesting thing that I think can be exemplified by this battle is that you have, I think essentially you have this pinning motion. I think you have a very different idea of what this battle is going to be, because for us, the idea was essentially move forward, secure an area to launch another attack. So essentially what we're doing in the beginning is we're just probing our way forward and finding out how far we can get to launch our main attack. And then transitioning rather rapidly onto the defense because we are met with a very, very heavy concentration of cavalry. After that, I think the battle mostly actually ran on inertia. A lot of the early decisions kind of just played out over a long period, I feel. But yeah, I do think that ultimately the battle will probably conclude with we just are standing in a field shooting each other until nightfall, if I were to guess.
Well, thank you. I agree. So now could we hear from Muscovite, who is the Lacey player?
Right-wing commander. And for me, I plan to deep strike into enemy rear along the river, road which leads to the river, but well, it was too much for my infantry once I received my first reports, and then I just adjust my orders to general plan, and we end up basically go around the hill where we met Russian cavalry and successfully drove them off by guard brigade. From the left side of the hill, supported the general cavalry charge, and yeah, I think we in the process of driving entire Prussian left flank.
I thought your orders were very good. It seemed like you were the first player to figure out how the fatigue stuff was working. Like you made your adjustments quicker than anyone else. So if I had to say, you understood the assignment fastest.
Thank you.
Could we hear from the left flank, Colorat, next?
Yeah, sure. So I was Austrian left flank, and the original plan was to kind of let the Prussians come down through the valley and remain in the tree line, just so we could kind of open up on them. But the more we advanced, the more we found out that the Prussians had really grouped their force in the center, the center and on my left. So that freaked me out pretty badly. Tried to get a line started, tried to get a line formed. Didn't clearly work out successfully. So I attempted to get a regiment over, plug in that gap, try to get some reserve regiment in the back to, step in whenever perhaps another regiment broke. But overall, my goal was to kind of prevent that pinwheeling from happening and just try to stagnate my left side and to hope that, the Austrian right in the center would probably help me out a little bit.
And last, but certainly not least, I would like to have the assistant umpire for today, John, who did a great job, say a few words about maybe the umpiring perspective and what he thought about the umpiring system, the map. We haven't really talked about the overarching plan for this series, but I do want to try to do a few more 7 Years War battles. And the idea of this system is that it should be able to be used both in the colonial battles and in the big linear continental battles, as well as naval battles. So hopefully we're going to get the full gamut of 7 Years War crap onto Open Saturdays. So last but not least, John.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me. This was very interesting to live umpire. I thought both sides did quite well with the hand that they were given. I was very pleased to see when Blue finally charged and got a bit of ground back on the southern flank. And I was also pleased to see how long Blue held its flank on the north. I thought that basically as soon as these guys got exhausted walking up this mountain, that it was over for that flank. But actually, Blue managed to salvage this a little bit, and they've kind of held their position much longer than I thought. In terms of umpiring, I think we came up with a color-graded system pretty quickly, so I would recommend that for next time because there's a lot of bookkeeping involved with this system. Yeah, I was working off of these like tiny little buttons
I don't know if you can see on my screen, but these like plus and minus buttons, and they were it was a little hard to grab the pieces and move them, so that resulted in a bit of delay, but the pieces were largely fine, and once we got the color system down, it was good. Obviously, it was very chaotic getting all kinds of orders from different people and trying to figure out where everybody's intending to go. Yeah, chaotic, but fun.
Yeah, I think the biggest learning thing for me is I would have had pieces colored based on division or at least core, just to help clarify the battlefield a little bit. And that's something you can do if you have more time to set this up. I did put this together in basically 3 nights, so it was not my highest effort piece. But the field expedient solution of just drawing different colored lines did seem to help a little bit. The other thing I'm still unsure about, and I don't know how everyone else felt about it, was the value of the morale and the fatigue just simply subtracting from each other caused a lot of times where units were forced to halt before they could complete their orders, or had to withdraw from combat that they, in a normal Kriegsspiel game, probably wouldn't have. And at the same time, the whole system is designed to be somewhat indecisive. So it's not super bloody. We didn't have a ton of casualties considering how long we fought for. But I also kind of think that's historical for 18th century warfare. So I'm still on the fence about it. I might tweak the numbers a bit, but overall, I'd like the concept of comparing your morale and your fatigue. And if your fatigue is too high, you can't do what you want to do. I just don't know if that should mean you can't do anything. I think that might have been a bit too extreme. Maybe it should just be a dice roll modifier or something.
Yeah, I think it was an elegant simplicity. Yeah, I do agree that it stopped a couple of units before they could get into action and like before they could shoot or anything. So maybe like increasing the amount of fatigue per unit might be a short-term solution, and then long-term you could maybe play test like the die roll modifier version instead. But I don't think it was that bad of a system. I think it was quite good.
Yeah, the system itself was designed this morning, so keep that in mind. So thanks everyone for coming, and hopefully you can play another one of these at some point. Maybe a little bit smaller battle. It might be a completely different flavor. This is a pretty big battle for the 7 Years' War. Basically, core versus core, which not unheard of, but still a relatively big battle, even for Frederick. So there's a lot of variety in the 7 Years' War, and I hope to showcase some of that variety, although I definitely prefer the continental battles over colonial ones. So that'll probably be the next one, another continental. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and see you guys later.
Good day.
Thank you.
All right, bye.